Thanks everyone for joining us. I'm Jordan Rutter, Director of Communications for American Bird Conservancy, and your host today. Birds inspire and delight us. They fill us with wonder, and they do so much, from pollination to pest control. But birds are in trouble. They're disappearing fast. American Bird Conservancy is taking bold action for birds across the Americas. We work with diverse partners throughout the Western Hemisphere to prevent imminent bird extinctions, improve millions of acres of habitat with bird-friendly management practices, and advocate for and create solutions to urgent threats that put birds at risk. And thanks to support from generous people like you, we're achieving lasting results for the bird species most in need, while also benefiting human communities, biodiversity, and the planet's fragile climate. Thank you for being here to help birds across the Americas thrive. And habitat degradation and loss are serious threats to birds, and as you'll learn today, it's an even more urgent threat when it comes to rare and endemic birds like the Araripe Manakin and others. American Bird Conservancy takes bold action for bird habitat in a number of ways. When it is not possible to create reserves, or when we acquire land that has been used for other purposes, we focus on habitat restoration. ABC supports our Latin American partners to build nurseries, nurture saplings, and plant the native trees and plants that threatened bird species depend upon for their survival. And you can help ABC plant even more trees and restore more habitat for threatened birds by making a tax-deductible gift now to support our habitat restoration efforts. Please visit abcbirds.org/restore or scan the code on your screen with your phone. Thank you for caring about birds, and a special thank you to all of our ABC members and donors in the audience right now. You're making a difference for birds like the Araripe Manakin every day. It's no secret that I am a huge bird nerd, and with that comes bird stuff. If there's a way to put a bird on it, I probably have. And for the most part, that means bird art. While I don't consider myself an artist, I'm so grateful for those that are. From their beautiful paintings that decorate my walls, to fun prints on my shirts and clothing, to decorative pillows, to stickers for my water bottle, and so much more. Bird art gives us all another way to appreciate these beloved creatures. Art helps us bridge nature with culture to better celebrate both birds and people. Art can also help us daydream or even wonder about a species in a different or unexpected way. And I'm really hopeful that's what will happen today for all of us. As we celebrate the wonder of birds like the Araripe Manakin today, we also get a chance to celebrate people by highlighting the ABC Fellowship Program, now hosting a cohort of 2024 to 2025 fellows. There's a lot to share about this program and probably a future webinar that provides opportunities to examine and expand how we care for both birds and people. These fellowships allow individuals with a wide range of backgrounds and expertise to work closely with our staff and partners on understanding how bird conservation efforts can support local communities, ensure the consideration of varied perspectives, and engage more people. Today, you'll meet Omar Custodio, one of 2 fellows in our Together for Birds artist residency, and he will help us celebrate the Araripe Manakin in a way that a more traditional scientific or academic-based presentation wouldn't necessarily allow. And as for the Araripe Manakin, who wouldn't want to celebrate this striking bird? This critically endangered species has a population estimated at only about 800 individuals and is endemic, meaning it occurs in a tiny area of northeastern Brazil and nowhere else on Earth. Today, you'll learn about American Bird Conservancy's efforts to conserve this rare species and, of course, draw it too. I can't wait to see the art that you'll create during this webinar. I'm so excited to introduce you to our speakers today. And if you are participating in the drawing segment, don't forget to grab some paper, a pencil, and maybe even some watercolors if you have them before we dive into the workshop. But let me introduce you to Bennett Hennessey. He is ABC's Brazil Conservation Program Coordinator. He grew up in Toronto, where he completed a customized zoology environmental science degree at the University of Toronto. Bennett has lived in Bolivia for over 20 years and achieved some impressive results for bird conservation while directing Asociación Armonía. And Bennett's additional bird conservation experience includes tour guiding, surveys, reserve design, trail creation, presentations, lodge creation, and writing, and so much more. Omar Custodio is one of ABC's Conservation and Justice Fellows. He is a Peruvian biologist and scientific illustrator with experience in zoology and ecology, particularly in ornithology. Since 2012, he has been associate researcher at the Centro de Ornitológico y Biodiversidad, and in 2022, he was honored as the Artist of the Year for World Migratory Bird Day by Environment for the Americas. Currently, he leads the Urban Birds of Lima project in Peru, which connects to various urban groups throughout birding activities. And with that, I'll turn it over to Bennett to kick things off with a bit more information about this wonderful bird and ABC's work. Welcome, Bennett.
Hello. Going to share my screen. So, sir. That good?
You're wonderful. Take it away.
Okay. Yes, I'm going to talk about the Araripe Manakin Conservation Program. To begin, we're going to do a little bit of geography just to get ourselves in the right spot here. Starting off with just the Americas, North America and South America, and understanding that that's sort of a separation from the rest of the world for many of these birds, especially the manakins. So there is South America. The yellow part is Brazil, 48% of the area of South America. Basically, the US, it's the 5th largest country in the world. The US is 3.6 million square miles. Brazil is 3.2 million square miles. So it's a very large country. There you go. As far as habitats, there's basically 4 main habitats in Brazil. The Amazon rainforest, that's the green one. And then you sort of see the gray part on the right, that's the Atlantic forest. And it's very similar to the Amazon rainforest. It shares a lot of similar species, a wet, tall tropical forest habitat. Then you have the Cerrado, which is kind of a more bushy, open area, grassy, treed area. And the Caatinga, which is a more desert-like habitat that has a bit of rain every year, but it's a far more drier habitat. And that's where we're going to be going today. Along with that variation, there's also quite a bit of elevation variation in Brazil. And that elevation creates areas that have higher rainfall and can also have cooler temperatures. So that sort of creates different habitats for birds and wildlife. So it's not all sort of the same, even amongst its one habitat type. So that is Brazil from Google Maps, a satellite image. And now we're going to go into where we're going today for the Araripe Manakin. And this is this area of Caatinga. What you need to see there, as you notice on the left, it's sort of all dark green. That's a plateau of forest area that's protected. And that's it there. So it's quite it's an oasis. You have this area of dry Caatinga, and then this plateau produces this area of a tree line of sort of Amazonian, sort of Atlantic forest species, moist species. And this is the project we're going to be visiting. This project, the conservation project, is by Aquasis, a conservation NGO in Ceará, in Brazil. And the project is based in this area. So that's just a good example of what's going on in this odd situation where you've got that plateau. The rain that accumulates comes down into springs that come out on the side, and those springs create a year-long moist forest that throughout all the Caatinga doesn't exist. You have 6 months of no rain, strong dry season. So you have this very unique area of just moist forest there. And we received some questions coming up, and I'll sort of go through some of those. So what are manakins by Deborah? And basically, manakins are, you think of flycatchers, and think about if you had a flycatcher that ate fruit. So it wasn't fly catching, but it was fruit eating. And that's sort of like a manakin. They're understory species. They're usually kind of small and quite colorful, and I'll mention that. Another question was what is related to manakins? And so we have the manakins and the cotingas. Now, these are all America's birds. They're not found in the other parts of the world. The manakins don't get up into North America. And a lot of them have very unique reproductive strategies, high vocalizations or dancing or colors. This is another example of another type of cotinga here, the Palcachupa cotinga in Bolivia. So there's 50 species of manakins, more or less. A lot of them have this kind of, if you'll notice, this is called the sexual variation in coloration. Males with really colorful plumages or loud, outrageous songs, and sort of drab females. Part of it, as they're sort of known, is this dancing that many of the species will do. And what this is, they call these a lek, where basically the males are competing with each other, and a female will choose which male it prefers to breed with. And I want you to notice here the red and the yellow plumages. Those are carotenoid pigments. I'll talk about that in a minute. So on that, we saw the male. This is the female of the Araripe Manakin. Clearly not easy to see on a nest. The male, very easy to see on a nest. And this is its typical kind of nest. It puts it over top of water. So the Araripe Manakin depends on water, and it's only a few feet above the water, and it needs that water to exist. And as the question was about the pigment, it makes their feathers white and red, and that's really interesting. The pigment is produced by the is not produced by the body of the carotenoid. Sorry, so the white it produces, but the red, yellows, and oranges, carotenoid pigments, it needs to eat that color. It needs to eat it in fruit. So that color is often quite variable, and it's sort of what birds use as a measurement of fitness, if it's a healthy individual. So even though one species may be a red bird, some of them might be more yellower, some of them might be more oranger, or some of them more redder, and that all depends on how much they've been able to eat. That what they can eat is sort of, if they're not sick, they don't have a virus, if they're living well, will have more time to sort of eat these pigments, and that will show that they're healthier, better, would be better fathers to the female. And the question here was, what are the main causes of decline of bird populations in Brazil? And it's habitat destruction. It's the loss of habitat. This is caused by expanding sort of rural farms, but also a level of industrial agriculture where large areas are cleared for using fertilizer and taking out habitat. That is the main threat there. So now we're going to show a video that's going to present what Aquasis and Karina and Weber are doing to protect this bird.
I'm in the Oasis Araripe Reserve by Aquasis in the state of Ceará in northeastern Brazil. This reserve was created to protect the Araripe Manakin, a critically endangered bird. Hi, I'm Bennett Hennessey, the Brazil Program Coordinator for American Bird Conservancy.
Hi, I'm Weber Silva, Oasis Araripe Reserve Manager.
Hi, I'm Karina Linhares, Reforestation Coordinator.
So this is the home to the Araripe Manakin. This is the Chapada de Araripe. So here we're at the Oasis Araripe Reserve Nursery, and Karina is going to show us what they've been up to. See a lot of plants here. How many plants do we have growing right now?
We have about 1,500 plants now here.
So how many species are here?
We have about 16 species.
16 species.
Here. The Araripe Manakin prefers the plants that are along the streams.
Okay.
So we have trees and shrubs. We are trying to collect and produce seedlings by shrubs because they grow up faster.
One of the projects that Karina has been doing now is looking at plants that fruit during the dry season. If those plants can produce, they will offer fruit for the species during the dry season, the hardest period, and then they can sort of manage their reserve and other areas so there's more fruit available for this threatened species.
In this place, we don't have many nursery plants producing that kind of fruit.
Right.
You have to collect these fruits, process these fruits. This is our reflorestarium. Here we have the place where we assist the seeds germination. Here we have a plant, seeds, fruits and seeds from Mutamba. There is a tree that grows up very fast. So we use frequently in reforestation. This plant is a part of the Araripe Manakin reforestation project. This is timbaúba fruit that we have on the seedling nursery. This is fruit of pau jangada. This is tingui.
O soldadinho do Araripe é uma espécie que gosta da água. Ele precisa da água para reproduzir e para ter o alimento. Boa parte dessa água existe em grandes fontes, são disputadas pelas pessoas para o abastecimento das casas, mas também para encher piscina, aguar gramado. Nessa disputa, o pássaro sai perdendo. Porém, existem pequenas fontes d'água. Possamos conseguir a água que o animal vai ter acesso para fazer o seu ciclo. Se nós conseguirmos, junto dessa água, plantar as espécies que ele se alimenta, isso vai melhorar o território dele. A cada 100 metros desses canais, a gente tem potencial para ter um ninho. De 100 em 100 metros, a gente tem cada vez um território novo da espécie.
Here you have this wonderful big mango tree that you're killing. Why are you doing that?
The mangoes are exotic species, so you have to take off them to plant native species here.
But why? Like, what harm do mangoes cause?
When the leaves fall on the ground and they spread these toxins, prevents the growth of the native species. We ringed the mangoes to accelerate the death. And we wait about a year. After that, we plant.
On the Oasis Araripe Reserve, how many mangoes have you had to kill?
More than 300.
And for each mango that's killed, would it sort of be replaced by one tree, do you think, or
more than one?
A perda do hábitat é uma das principais ameaças à conservação do soldadinho do Araripe. E essa perda do hábitat também ocorre, além do desmatamento, por ocasião do fogo. Combater incêndios é muito importante para garantir a integridade das unidades de conservação. Nosso projeto também tem recursos para manter pessoas treinadas e aptas, disponíveis para combater incêndio. E temos não só no equipamento e na estratégia para prevenir esses incêndios, para quando o fogo acontecer, nós estarmos mais preparados.
How do you envision the future elements of this project?
Yes, first of all, we need buy land to increase the habitat of the Araripe Manakin. When you buy other lands, we have to increase this nursery because we have to produce more.
I mean, would you think it would be to make another one the same size?
Yes,
Okay.
I think so. Double the size,
Okay.
at least.
So we're asked the question, estimate the number of individuals in the wild, and that's something that Weber now, you've seen there, he's been working on. Basically, what you have is 3 different regions, and he's been studying the variation in those 3 different areas. Crato, you see the 3, the blue, yellow, orange, the blue, orange, and gray. If you notice the blue one, hold on, that's showing up there, no, there you go. Sorry. If you notice from 2013, the blue area, the population in Crato has declined to 80 at 2018, and then increased a bit. And the other 2 areas have sort of declined, sort of stable. It's not a radical decline. So putting them all together, right now at 2020, the estimation was at 436. This is of breeding adults, and that's a population estimation. So yeah, that's our population estimation. It's 2020, so probably time to do another census. And then the question was, what has contributed to the Araripe Manakin's decline? And it's really 2 things. It's habitat destruction, the urban areas moving into this forest area. So it's very important to try to protect land, but it's also a bit with climate change, where dry seasons are stronger. And especially what we found is that the El Nino events that occur, and El Nino occurs every 2 to 7 years, come with very strong dry seasons. You sort of see a stronger impact. What all that means is it is really important what Karina's working on with plants and making sure that there's fruit available, plants, habitat available, forest areas, and also that managing specifically for the species that there are plants that the bird can eat, the fruits that the bird can eat during the rainy season. During the dry season, sorry. So that's an element that they put the emphasis on. It's been asked, are they kept at pets or zoos? None of these birds are in captivity. Still the population's large enough that it's not seen as a priority, but sometimes in conservation, we get to a point where it's so low that you want to sort of see if you can have a safe population in a large aviary. That right now, the emphasis on protecting enough habitat and making sure all the necessities of the bird are in the wild. And I was asked how we can help by Christy and Anthony. Clearly, we're asking for support. American Bird Conservancy is a U.S. charity organization. We send the money to the Aquasis to help their project. If you don't have funds, you could also think about sort of a fundraising drive idea, maybe at your work, at your school, or maybe a fundraising event, something like that. And you can also talk to wealthy people who might have extra income that could donate. And it was asked how I could come and observe these rare birds. There are different bird tour organizations, but the Brazilian birding experts work in Brazil, and they do have tours, and they can create specific tours to see the threatened birds. And I know they visit the Araripe Manakin Reserve, which has a lodge, so you could go there and stay there. And that's part of how they're looking at paying for the conservation of the area in the long term. And that's our overview of the species.
Thank you so much, Bennett. We'll have you back at the end, but right now I'm going to invite Omar to get set up and we'll start drawing. If folks want to, again, make sure that they have some paper and pencils so that they can participate, now's the time.
Disculpen con todo. Bueno, muchas gracias.
My apologies. First of all, thank you for the invitation to ABC. I am Omar Custodio. I am part of the program Together for Birds, and I'm going to explain a bit the work that I'm doing. I'm going to do my explanation in Spanish. So if you want to listen to English, feel free to go to the English channel. Thank you for being here. And well, when I was asked to make an illustration of this species, I love species in the Amazons. I love the manakins because of the color that they have, the shape. So I was very excited, and I enjoy illustrating threatened species, and especially when they are part of such an interesting program. So I was looking for information in eBird. The pictures that I sketched were taken from there, from eBird. And today I have about 30 minutes to explain to you what the process is. So here I have other illustrations that I wanted to show you because this is something that I have been working on. I am from Peru. I am in Lima. These are species that we have in Lima. I'm working on an interaction of native species between birds and plants. And what I wanted to show you is these works from last year. This is also an endangered species. It's endemic to Peru. This is a jaguar. And I work especially in smaller format because so far working with watercolors, all of these are watercolors, and because of the process, to be able to have this kind of results of outcomes, it all starts with an idea. So I do a lot of sketches. These are not birds, of course, but it is the same process. First, I get familiar with the species with videos, photos, then I start sketching the species and I select a pose. And this is the final work. This is a vicuña from the Peruvian Andes, and I didn't know, but they have this longer hair in the chest. And anyway, for the Pavali Blanca, it all started with a sketch too to see what posture would work best, the composition of the posture. And I am very familiar with this species. I am from the north of Peru and I'm used to seeing it out in the wild. And I was able to get a lot of videos and therefore study how it moves in real life. When we see pictures, it doesn't show us how the bird behaves in the wild or in real life, or how they stand, how they perch, how they distribute their claws to be able to hold themselves up. So we do have a previous study of the animal before arriving to the final outcome. And I did the same for the Araripe Manakin. And I started with sketches. So that's what I'm going to try to explain. How did I get here? And we had, what we had understood from the previous video is that there is a difference between female and males. I think in most species, males tend to be more colorful and females are more muted. That also happens with passerine birds. And well, females need to keep up with the nest and keep the chicks alive. So males are more colorful to compete for during the breeding season. This mannequin in particular I like a lot. It is not too complex to illustrate in the sense of colors. It's just wings and tail in black and also at the top of the head, which is characteristic of the species. What I usually show when we want to start from zero is these ideas. When I start with sketching, I use pencils. I have all this range of pencils, and graphite pencils you can find practically anywhere. In your bookshop, they're always going to have graphite pencils available. Ideally, you want a whole range. The F, H, and all the kinds of B that you can. So H is for hard, and B tends to be softer. And the higher the number, the softer and darker the pencil will be. So I like to go for the middle one, which is HB. It has soft lines, and it is very good to start with sketching. Basically, if we go to a YouTube tutorial or whatever platform you prefer, it's going to tell you that in order to draw a bird, you'd need two circles. The first one can be the head. Well, what I'm going to do is share this so you can see what I'm using as a reference. It's also good to have an image as a reference. For example, what you can see, it's an image that I took from eBird, and I'm going to use it as a reference. So following this idea, using photos as a reference, if this is personal, then it's okay to practice. But if you're going to do the illustration for a publication, then you have to remember to credit the photographer. In this case, I took the picture from eBird. I like the posture that it has, and it allows me to explore all of the parts that I'm going to to draw. Always a head. So we start with a small circle, which is what we usually see. And within this little circle, I'm going to draw a line in the middle, from top to bottom, and then side to side. Here, remember, I'm using soft lines because these are not the final lines. This is HB pencil, so this is just going to give me the idea of the proportions of the drawing for this species specifically. And what I wanted to show is the groups of feathers. So if we are bird watchers, we're going to notice, not in the case of this mannequin, but for other passerine birds, I don't know if you've noticed that the feathers of the head are different from the feathers of the face, and around the beak and in the throat, they are also different. That means that there are groups of feathers that are defined, and if we are aware of those primary groups, then our illustration is going to be more natural, more organic, understanding that we want to capture every detail of the species in this intersection. This is a sketch of what could be the eye, and we can start to shape it. And then the body, it's also another circle, well, more like an oval. And depending on the posture that I am basing the sketch on, then I'm going to try to give it shape. This is a male mannequin, and remember that these are soft traces because these are not the definite lines. This is still a draft. So we can give it this shape. And here, what we see as the wings, we could have a small triangle just in the tip of the circle. And this can simulate the projection of the feathers from the wings. And I wanted to come to here, to this part now. We have the wing. We understand that it's very similar to our bone structure. It has a humerus, the two bones, which could be like the radius, and here birds have only 3 claws or even 2 sometimes. So from these very rudimentary bones, remember that you can use books. For example, I have here as a reference to observe the bones of the wing, and here is where the feathers are going to, the primary feathers are going to come from. So the primary feathers are usually 10, and it's these feathers that give a shape to the wing. Here we have 3 small feathers, the primary covers and the primary feathers. And as I said, most passerine birds have 10. Then we have the secondary ones that are on these 2 bones. So the primary, the minor covers of the secondary, and the humerus, which is the last bone that connects to the scapula. We have only 3 feathers. So the whole wing, when it opens, it spreads the feathers. And when the wing is not open, it looks like this. For migratory birds, for example, seabirds or raptors, the primary feathers are very long. So the shape of the wing is slightly more pointy, because that's what allows them to fly long distances. But because the mannequin doesn't need to fly long distances, the primary feathers are almost at the same length of the secondary birds, the secondary feathers. So that gives us a better understanding of the whole structure of the wing. And like I said, we have the covers, feathers. In this case, they are white. This species in particular, it's very colorful, very beautiful, but I cannot see very well the difference in between feathers because sometimes they are the same color. Here there is something very interesting, which is the back. The feathers from the back connect to the back of the head, and it looks like a projection. These are the feathers from the back. In this case, they are red. This is a sketch, so I'm just going to color it darker. And here the crown, the feathers of the head, and the forehead. And in the forehead, there is a crest that we can easily see. So remember, this is only a sketch. This is just an idea of the structure. So maybe you've asked yourselves, why do we draw the head as a circle and the body as well? And it's because of the structure of the bones. When we see the species, here we have another book. We can see the muscle layer, we have the head. Most of the species are going to have the eye and the body. The bones of the chest fuse with the back bones, and the lower part of the back creates something very compact to protect the internal organs, and the muscles that we see here do the same thing. Here are the pectorals and the leg muscles, so that's why it looks something very compact. And most instructions about drawing birds, or most tutorials that you find about drawing species, is going to suggest to create a circle for the body, but this is the reason why, because most of the bones are fused and compact to protect the insides of the individual. So I'm going to change the pencil that I'm using. I'm going to go for a softer one. So this is going to be darker, and I can leave my sketch on the side and start to make a drawing in the paper that I'm actually going to use to color. This is a 300 grams watercolor paper. I use compact watercolors because, and why do I use this? Well, because I could just take them anywhere and paint whenever and wherever I want. I just need a little water and a brush, and I can even color on the field. Well, I'm actually going to do it here because I already drew most of it. I can define the eye. As you can see, this is a different pencil. This is a lot softer, so the lines are darker. This is a 4B pencil. And the iris, the pupil is always very dark, and the iris of this mannequin is like a red-brown from the pictures that I've seen. Drawing eyes is... it's a whole technique. There is a technique actually that I'm going to tell you about. This is on our practice paper. Here I'm drawing an eye. So I draw the pupil, the center, and the iris. I'm going to shade in a softer way, so it looks different. And I'm always going to take light into consideration. Usually the light is coming from the top, either right or left. I like the source of the light to come from the top right, so it's like on the face of the individual that I'm illustrating. I understand that the eye is a sphere with liquid inside, so what I do is place the light circle here, and then I make everything else darker, and I leave the part underneath lighter, and that is going to make the eye look more real. I can also go for a darker pencil, which means it's softer, to add on the detail. And why with this little white part left in the lower part of the circle? Because that makes the eye look more real. Whenever I use watercolors, that's the technique that I use, because if I only leave the light on the top of the eye, it's going to look like a solid sphere, and the eye is not solid. So I do that, and I can start shading other things. Here there are some feathers that are around the eye that are very interesting, because those are the limits of the loris. When we draw the beak, we do it like this. The beak is going to help us define what the species feeds on, how it survives. It's a mannequin, it eats fruits. So the detail this is the nose. We're going to paint it dark because it's hollow, and here are the feathers. This is a profile that I'm imagining. And this profile is going to help me define the feathers from the face, from the throat. I know that they are white. I'm just defining them to keep track of what I'm doing. And in the picture, we can even see the feathers of the face and at the throat for the posture that we have in the other sketch. We have the feathers from the face. The mannequins have a flat head. They're not that square. So if we want to add color, this is going to be the red part. So that's why I'm shading it. We are going to draw the beak. It's flat, almost flat. We have the nose, which goes darker, and that's the face of our male mannequin. These are the feathers on the back, which are very easy to spot in this species. We can also shade it a little darker. And even though the feathers are white here at the wing, we can see that there is a very soft shadow. So I can use my pencil 2B to do that little shading. And this is white. Even if I'm going to color it with watercolors, this is going to be slightly white. So I'm going to continue with my pencil 4B because now I'm going to define the primary feathers. It's not on the picture, but I am going to show it intentionally. Here are the feathers that usually cover the entire wing. It depends on the number of the secondary feathers. It depends on the species, maybe on the family, and here we have the primary feathers. So to add the volume and the color, I'm gonna go for my 7B pencil, and you can see that only with a few traces, the number of 7B, it's a lot more intense. It's darker, so I can make it darker. This is my 7B pencil. Okay, there it is. Like I said before, the other feathers are not very well defined. But I am going to mark them so I can keep them into consideration because I could find those feathers in other species.
Omar, 5-minute warning.
Okay, a tip that I'm going to give you is the legs, but that's okay. We don't have a lot of time left, only 5 minutes, so I just want to finish this. And we have a long tail. We have the feathers for the tail and under the tail, and so we have the right, left, and about the legs, the passerine birds usually have only four toes, claws, claws, and when they perch, these last two claws don't go around the branch. It's very easy to remember that the first are longer and the last two are shorter claws, and that is going to make our illustration more natural. And when we know more about the anatomy of the species, we're going to find more details, it's going to look more natural, and you're going to be able to learn with practice. It takes a lot of practice. I am very thankful for the opportunity to communicate a little bit of what I do, and hopefully we're going to be able to get together and have another drawing session. I'm going to start working on tutorials, and I am going to finish this. And when I have the final product, I'm going to share it on my social media. So thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you, Omar. I am quickly trying to wrap up my drawing so it's presentable to you. I think we're gonna keep you around. Let you keep doing it. Mine looks nothing like yours. I'm trying. But I would love to know what your favorite part of drawing is. Is there a particular step in the process that you really enjoy more than others?
Research.
Research. To do research on the species is what I enjoy the most. Sometimes, I don't know, I get a commission that is 1-2 weeks, and out of those 2 weeks, 10 days, I'm going to be researching the species. I want to get to know how it moves, how it interacts, so I can capture the composition of the individual better.
Is there a bird that you love to draw or one that you want to draw a lot?
Shorebirds. Me gustan mucho las aves playeras. De hecho,
Shorebirds. I love shorebirds. Actually, I have a lot of experience with shorebirds.
dibujarlas, observarlas, porque ayuda mucho el comportamiento a la hora de identificar. Es una de las familias que es más difícil identificarlas
It helps to learn to identify it. I think that shorebirds are very difficult to identify, especially in South America, because we see them in the winter feathers. So looking at how they interact is very important to be able to identify them, and I enjoy that a lot. So I really like shorebirds.
They're a really great family of birds for sure.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much, Omar. We really appreciate it. And Bennett, thank you too for your overview of information. We definitely have had a wonderful audience. Thank you so much for being so engaged. We're going to wrap things up now. But again, thank you for joining us. Keep working on your art. We can't wait to see it. All registrants will receive a link to the recording via email in just a few days. And I promised my team that I'd share my drawing with all of you. So again, here it goes.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. But we want to see your art too. If you use social media, please share your work with us using hashtag #DrawABC. We'll also include a way for you to share your art with us directly as part of the follow-up information that you'll be receiving very soon. Please remember that conservation efforts that you've heard about today are only possible thanks to members and donors like you who care about birds and believe in ABC's mission to conserve them. Will you consider making a gift to support ABC's habitat restoration efforts? Please do so by giving now and visiting abcbirds.org/restore. Scan the code on your screen with your phone or via the form that you'll be redirected to after today's presentation ends. Thank you so much again for caring about birds. Good luck with your art and good birding.
Jordan, if
Yep.
we still have time, I have to say, we didn't actually get to see your drawing. I think there's something up with the view. So if you can.
Yeah.
There you go.
There we go. It's beautiful.
Nice, Jordan.
Thank you all.